can chant.
Will we start?
जी.
सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्. श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पाद शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः. ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै. ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः.
And 29 to 32.
आश्चर्यवत् पश्यति कश्चिदेनम् आश्चर्यवद्वदति तथैव चान्यः आश्चर्यवच्चैनमन्यः शृणोति श्रुत्वाप्येनं वेद न चैव कश्चित्. देहि नित्यमवध्योऽयं देहे सर्वस्य भारत तस्मात् सर्वाणि भूतानि न त्वं शोचितुमर्हसि स्वधर्ममपि चावेक्ष्य न विकम्पितुमर्हसि धर्म्याधियुद्धात् श्रेयोऽन्यत् क्षत्रियस्य न विद्यते यदृच्छया चोपपन्नं स्वर्गद्वारमपावृतं सुखिनः क्षत्रियाः पार्थ लभन्ते युद्धमीदृशम्.
31st verse, second line. Just do that again.
धर्म्याधियुद्धात् श्रेयोऽन्यत्. It should be nat.
Do that.
धर्म्याधियुद्धात् श्रेयोऽन्यत्. धर्म्याधियुद्धात् श्रेयोऽन्यत् क्षत्रियस्य न विद्यते.
Correct. Yes. So, thank you. So we are on the understanding now that Krishna's advice to Arjuna is that he should remember his role, the larger role, the bigger role of him being the prince, a ruler, and keeping that in mind. Also, there is a duty that he has towards his subjects, towards his people towards his citizens. And he should keep that in mind and also execute that duty. And since that duty falls in the category of a Vedic vision of society in which such people who could lead a society, protect a society, be just, be righteous, and because of their just ruling. Another word for just would be righteous. Because they can rule righteously, impartially, they can take a society forward, which would automatically mean that people living in that society would be happier, successful, peaceful, and live a good life. The administrative of a society has to be righteous. If the administrator in a society is not righteous, then there will be rebels. There will be, what is that society does? When the civil war, there will be civil wars. Because people are unhappy. They don't feel fair. So a king's primary job, a ruler's, an administrator's primary job is to keep a society healthily balanced, distribute the resources in the kingdom fairly, keep everyone's consideration in mind while ruling, etc., which not everybody can do. And those who can do this can fight for other people's righteousness are Kshatriyas. And as a Kshatriya, their job is to fight the elements in society that are going to be selfish, that are going to rob other people's rights, that are going to be corrupt and exploit the society. So keeping that, always there will be elements that if the administration is poor, is weak in any company, in any country, even at a house level, home level, if the administration of the home is weak, there will be elements that are going to always be there in the society amongst others who will try and influence the well-being of the family, society, etc. So the job of a good administrator, the ruler at the highest level, not a manager, but a ruler at the highest level, is to ensure that while protecting, what does it mean to protect others' interest? It means to be able to fight away, to strategize the corrupt elements that are also seen in the society equally. And if you are weak, the corrupt will become powerful and will definitely affect normal sane people's life and livelihoods. Therefore, Kshatriya means not only to give a good governance, but also have the capacity to fight the wrong elements in society. And whoever has that job, whoever has qualified themselves into that role of life, must pay attention that when their own personal emotions surface in that execution of the role of a universal nature, where larger people's interests are in mind, they must ensure that their personal emotion is not biasing their capacity to rule, their capacity to do justice. Personal emotion cannot bias the judgment for a totality. Personal emotion cannot operate with reference to a role if one has which keeps larger interest in mind. So if I am just a housekeeper a homemaker, my interest, my personal emotion with reference to a home and people living in a home becomes primary role for me. I'm not talking about a Kshattriya now. I'm talking about even at a relative level where your own personal emotion versus the benefit of a family. Definitely your emotion is secondary. The benefit of a family will be primary. You extend that into your society, immediate, and then into further immediate, larger and larger canvas. So he says here, svadharma, one's own dharma, is keeping that in mind. You should not waver the way you are wavering now, Arjuna. Remember your dharma. And for the sake of that duty that you have, a responsibility that you have, there is nothing greater an opportunity for one's own shreyas, for one's own well-being, for one's own betterment, than fighting a war where you are on the side of the righteous, that you are in the camp of the righteous. What was with Drona and Bhishma? They knew they were not on the camp of the righteous. Knowing that they were not in the camp of the righteous, they allowed their own personal value or personal vows to shape their decision. Supposing, for argument's sake, and taking that example that it may happen many times in lives that this may fall as an important criteria in one's own decision making, if, for argument's sake, Bhishma or Drona were able to keep their personal vow aside and just take dharma as a criteria, that it was their dharma, svadharma, to uphold their own vow versus a dharma that has to uphold in society, whose side they should be on. It's a tough decision. It is not always easy, and it will be much easier for us to judge as an objective member and to just say it should have been this or that. But relatively, when it falls in our category, in our lives, a decision that is difficult to make based on these grounds, Shastra's advice to us is, be watchful. If your personal emotion is going to only be the criteria and it is sacrificing the interest of other members in your family or in your work organization or in your society, in your country, wherever you have identified with, whatever circumference of your identification you are formed for your identity, it is a red signal. To be a student of Shastra means this is a knowledge, this is an advice given, which I may not recognize at my level of involvement of my mind with reference to my life, but Shastra is telling us it is a red flag. Be careful, especially when it is a situation where your personal emotion is also involved, and also is involved a larger interest. It is always better to go with larger interest. Invariably, you will find that the personal emotion was also only initially seeming to be difficult. But once a decision's made, once an execution's taken place, you find that you are also at a greater peace of mind, rather than fulfilling your emotion and sacrificing a larger interest. So Krishna said in the 31st verse, continuing with the last two classes, keeping in your mind what is your personal duty. Execute your duty wherever it is at play. And so, svadharmam, recognizing one's own dharma. For a Kshattriya, fighting a war which is righteous was also considered dharmic from the standpoint of Shastra. In the Mahabharata itself, Bhishma tells Krishna in one of the conversations, and he says, just as for Brahmins, their dharma is dana, tapas, and studying the Vedas, the Shastram, and then teaching it in the world. For a Kshatriya, a dharmic yudh and voluntarily giving up their life for it is their dharma. So the dharma, the varnas were established, were classified to help us understand what becomes our duty when these are our gunas. When my natural inclinations are these, then normally we don't think, and our personal interest will still percolate into our situation and decision making. Shastras kind of gave an outline that if these are your gunas and this is your leaning towards this profession, whether by birth or just by inclination, if you are into that kind of a work, then these are your duties. So the verse, I'll just read the verse for its own sake. Brahmananam yatha dharmo dana madhyayanam tapaha. Dana madhyayanam tapaha. Kshatriyanam tatha Krishna. Samare deha patanam. Brahmananam yatha, just as for the Brahmins, dharmaha is in the form of dhanam, adhyanam, and tapas. So to Kshatriyanam tatha, in the same way for the Kshatriyas, O Krishna, samare deha patanam. Samare means by your own self, swadeha. Deha patanam, giving up your own body voluntarily, is adharma. Another verse would say, again from the Mahabharata itself, adharmaha kshatriyas yaishaha yachaya maranam bhavet visrijan shlesham kleshama mutrani kripanam paridevayan. He is here now telling Yudhishthir that it's a very harsh verse in a way. When you spit and or when the waste is out of your body, when there's evacuation or in the body, how does one look at it, the spit or the evacuated material from the body? He says in the same way, this is a harsh verse to convey the dharma and the importance of a dharmic war as an opportunity in one's life. He says in the same way, if one is a Kshatriya and is dying in the bed with an involuntary evacuation, last stages, many people can't control their bladder, can't control their excretion. And in the bed itself, they are doing the evacuation. Involuntarily, it's happening. Then they don't have control over it. He says, if you look upon a Kshatriya as dying like that, death which is coming like this to a Kshatriya, he says that is adharma for Kshatriya. So what is dharma for Kshatriya? Is why am I bringing these quote next verse? It will help us to understand. Bhishma is telling Krishna in the first verse. Krishna doesn't need that, but the way the conversation went in that aspect, Bhishma is clarifying to Krishna and saying that dharma for a Kshatriya is when he gets a chance to fight a righteous battle and can die in the battle itself. Why are people, even today, if you look at from the standpoint of the terrorists, if you just call them terrorists, means from our standpoint, they are terrorizing the society by their actions. From their standpoint, they are ready to die because they believe, we are not calling it right or wrong here, they believe that dying such a death will take them to a better place tomorrow. He says here, Kshatriyas would look for an opportunity to fight a righteous war. Means they are a soldier of a country and that country is on the side of the dharma. They are on the righteous side. They are not the ones who are overpowering, overbearing, who are attacking, who are unrighteous. So not a Kaurava camp, but a Pandava camp. And if a soldier gets an opportunity to fight from, say, a Pandava camp, they feel it is a blessing that has come in their life. It is an opportunity that has come in their life because Shastra, Dharam Shastra, according to their gunas, say that it is your duty to die, even if you were to die fighting for a righteous cause, you are better off. It is your dharma than dying on a bed, last stage of your life, involuntary functions have operated and you don't, that will be a dharma for you. There are many quotations in the Shastra which are telling us important is that if your characteristic you've identified as one of the classifications, if you're a trader, your dharma doesn't ask you to do fight. Your dharma does not ask you to teach, to preach. Your dharma asks you to generate, to be dedicatedly generating the vittam, wealth, and making it available to society, distribute it, have your share out of it, fulfill yourself, and then earn so much that you can even help the other dependent classes. You can nourish them also. That would be blessing for a trader, for a Vaishya, guna. So, as a householder or as a Vaishya, what would be it? Your living should be organized in such a way that you are able to generate enough, not only for yourself, but for the other three dependent ashramas, the sannyasis, the vanaprasthi, means you're elderly in your society, in your environment, who depend upon you. You should be able to provide for them, give them a comfortable existence during their old avastha, vriddha avastha. You should have that capacity. So, based on your inclination, svadharma comes to you. And if you are by some chance having a high proportion of being lazing around or etc., then make sure that your dharma is to serve. Serve means put your physical body in the line of action. And if you get an opportunity to do physical service associated with someone who's doing a higher work, a higher job, then your blessing is that you have an opportunity to do such a work. So this way, everyone had an opportunity, svadharma, to help them evolve, to help them grow. It is not that only Brahmins are superior, etc., etc. No. Each one had their own respective swadharmic activity with which they will grow, they will evolve. And what do we mean by grow? Adhyatmic vision is primary, whether we recognize it or not, but even immediate prosperity, peace, shanti, what everybody looks for, living a happy, cheerful life and harmonious with fundamentally comfortable relations in life. What more does anybody want, really speaking? Even that will come when you abide in your duties that your swadharma asks you. So he says, such a dharma, dharmik, dharmyat hi yuddhat shreyah. In keeping in mind that this dharmic war has come to you, for a Kshattriya, Krishna is reminding him, no greater shreyas can be there for you. With the help of these quotations, you can understand that this is how a dharmic shastra would give guidance, would give a direction to such temperaments. So he says, keeping that in mind, you should not waver. There should be no thought about it. There should be no second doubt about it. It's clear. It should be clear to you. This is what Dharma Shastra says. This is what your gunas say. And if a moment of emotion has clouded your judgment, Krishna is telling him, invoke back your judgment and remember your own Shastra. And your Shastra would tell you that such a yudh is best for you. So, your own natural inclination, follow it. Then what other thing? There is kutascha tat yuddham kartavyam. So here he said, your main thing is yuddham prithvi jaya dvarena dharma artham prajarakshanartham. What I have just said is said here in this. A Kshatriya would say his dharma is prithvi jaya dvarena, to prevent wrong elements from overtaking your country and your countrymen, ruling them. Prithvi jaya, you have to protect your land. Prithvi jaya, victory to protect your land. Expand your land where you can rule for the sake of dharma. Dharma artham, for the sake of establishing a righteous kingdom like Rama Rajya. For the sake of establishing a righteous kingdom, you must have a kingdom first. And you are not doing it for your sake, but praja rakshana artham, for the sake of protection of the people who can live in a land which has got righteousness established in its law and order. For that, this is your fight, Arjuna, and this is not anybody else's dharma to do. Remember this also. When we determine our dharma, specifically swadharma, there is sometimes also a counterpoint that we bring into our mind. Is this possible for someone else to do? If the answer is yes, someone else can also do this, then it is not necessarily just your dharma. Your dharma is unique, which means look at the fineness of decision, the sukshma decision that has come. What is Arjuna's unique position in the battlefield? That uniqueness, his quality has earned that uniqueness. And therefore, though he is not going to be the king at all, he knows that also. But that uniqueness implies that a lot of the outcome of the war rests on his shoulder. Therefore, O Arjuna, you have to be understanding your unique dharma. If you waver from this, a lot of war outcome will change. If Arjuna withdraws from the war, there is a very likelihood that Pandavas are losing the war. And if Pandavas are losing the war, then Arjuna, you have lost your means for Shreya. Shreya Karanam. Somewhere he said these beautiful words. Where was it? It is a Shreyas Karanam. It is a means to you for you to gain your Shreyas. And if you waver from your duty, you are losing the chance. It's not just the war is getting lost. You are losing the chance for a means to grow yourself, abide in your dharma. Therefore, that is one big reason that he has given. Kshatriyasya swabhavikat dharmat na vikampitum. What is natural to your nature, do not resist it. Abide in your atma swabhavat and fight this. The other reason he says is yadrichaya cha upapannam svargadvaram apavritam sukhinaha kshatriyaha partha labhante yuddhamidrisham. He says yadrichaya, what has come. Shankara says here aprarthitaya. Aprarthitaya means without requesting, without asking, without wishing. Aprarthitaya. Yadrichaya means without asking. You didn't ask for this war. You did not have a wish for this war. You're not the one who is. Duryodhana is wishing. You did not wish for it. So, yadrichaya cha upapannam, what has come by chance, by some stroke of anugraha. It's look at the way in which they look at the situation. Krishna is saying this is anugraha falling in your lap. This is anugraha that has come to you. Unasked war, dharmic war. You are lucky in that sense. Such an unasked dharmic war which you can lead, abide in your dharma, svadharma, and act on it, is a sure means for svargadvaram apavritam. It opens the doors of swargam. An unasked, unsought dharmic war in which you are participating from side of dharma, and here in Arjuna's case you are leading that war. Even if you die, it is a sure. What is Shreyas? Immediate gain, long run gain, and ultimate spiritual gain. Svargadvaram. It opens your doors to heaven. What more greater? Sukhinaha, Kshatriyaha, O Parth, O Arjuna, what more happiness can a Kshatriya have, labhante, can gain, than yuddham idrisham, than having an opportunity like this war at literally your doorstep. It is standing right in front of you, an opportunity that is standing right in front of you. What more happiness can a Kshatriya have than an opportunity like this? Now look at what is Arjuna's mind. Grieving. First, Krishna says there is no justification to grieve. On second hand, here he is saying, in fact, what should really your state of mind be? If you are actually living a correct life, a righteous life, if you're living a righteous life, when you see an opportunity like this, if your buddhi has not been shaken up, you would have been in the sukhinaha. You would be happy. You would see it as an opportunity for shreyas, not just for yourself, but as a general opportunity for everyone. Sukhinaha kshatriyaha partha labhante yuddham idrisham, like this. Iske jaisa. What is there more to gain for a kshatriya than a war opportunity like this that you can fight from here? So the contrast of your mind is directly seen. In fact, if you can extrapolate this, if your sense of duty is guiding you in life, if you're operating from a sense of duty, what will be your state of mind averagely speaking throughout your life? If the duty is your primary criteria to act in life, what will be your state of mind?
Peace, shanti.
From here, from this verse, what will you say? Peace, shanti. Here in this verse, what is he saying? One word, what will you?
Sukhi.
Sukhi. You will have the experience of sukhitva. You will be feeling happy from inside, which is peace, which is shanti. But you will be unknowingly, you will never be able to trace your state of happiness. You will not trace your state of, why am I content? Yes, some people you find them just हमेशा खुश रहते हैं. एक आनंद उनका स्वभाव है. And we are not talking about Atma Anand. We are not talking about Brahma Vidya here. Relative life में, even when there's adversity, they still are, they look at the brighter side of life. They still don't feel overwhelmed. Their mind doesn't get darkened easily. They are ready for the struggle. They are ready to fight. They are ready to, face the situation, however difficult it is. But the mind is not depressed. Mind is not affected in the same manner like another average person of a similar situation would be. Am I conveying this? Is it getting conveyed? Yeah, okay. So you do come across some people who are just averagely, I'm not talking about just happy-go-lucky, indifferent kind of happiness. Andar se, they are just happy people. Happiness comes from there at your first relative level. Happiness comes as a direct outcome. That is peace, that is shanti, that is contentment, that is all the values. It comes from your abiding in your duties. Svadharma ko pehchanna, knowing it, being aware of it, acknowledging it, and abiding in it. That is svadharma. Living a life even on your duties on an average basis is liberating relatively, is already freeing a person from within. That, he says, a Kshatriya would be happy. Arjun, look at your condition. तुम तो बिल्कुल अपना हथियार गिरा चुके हो. Actually, what should a Kshatriya be doing? He should have been ready now to fight this because he recognizes the dharma, which is the motivation or the intention, the base, the springboard of the decision to act. So, sukhinaha yadrichaya cha upapannam. Without asking, you have got a chance offered on, silver platter. It's come to you on a silver platter. It's an opportunity unsought but has come your way. This can only be purvam. This can only be anugraha. When you did not work for it, but it still comes your way. When you do not ask for it, but something right has come your way. Recognize the right that has come your way, because if you don't recognize what has come your way as right, what will happen? You lose the opportunity. You don't recognize it as right. Therefore, what happened? You are seeing it as from a personal standpoint, and that's how you are grieving. That's how you've lost your way, O Arjuna. So recognize what has come, to recognize our opportunities which allow us to express our svadharma. This line I'm going to repeat again, because this is a huge formula to life, shanti in life. To be able to recognize an opportunity which will allow us to express our svadharma. Supposing you are a trader and you don't have an opportunity for any leading work, business-oriented work. You're not able to become a businessman, businesswoman. And you have to work for someone else and you are only following instructions. You're working in a company, you're only taking instructions, but you're inside, you know how you can do better for this company, but nobody's giving you that opportunity. Would you be happy? But supposing the higher team person recognizes your potential and gives you an opportunity that will express your nature, that will allow you to express your nature. What comes out of it is not even anybody's concern. The fact that you're getting an opportunity to express what is your natural inclination, to bring it into action, to be able to do what is in alignment with your nature, with your inclination, that is a blessing, an anugraha, that you're getting a chance to actually express it. For a Brahmin, supposing an thinking person, if you don't have the opportunity to study, to understand, to do research, to figure the things out, to have the leisure of life, and you have to work for your bread and butter, supposing you were to work in a job which just takes you from 9 to 9, and you cannot open books, you cannot do research, you want to read more, you want to, but you can't do that because you have to earn your bread and butter. Would you be happy? Can you see the importance of choosing to get an opportunity to express svadharma? People take dharma and duty as a burden. Why there is so much confusion in our society is because there is this consumerism which has allowed us, individualism that is allowing us to express as individuals is correct. But we are becoming takers. We are becoming, the balance is tilting to us becoming bhogis, enjoyers. And if we are going, the balance of our life is where we are more of an enjoyer. You may think I've got some instant pleasure. I've got some happiness now. Oh, I'm so happy. I'm so happy. But deep inside, you know that you're not happy. You know that you're looking for more, something else. An opportunity to express your svadharma, which means your duty. And duties is actually enjoyable, is very relaxing, is sukhinaha. This whole idea has to be rechanged, rewritten in one's mind if one thinks that duties are burden. If one feels duties tire oneself, then this idea has to be restructured, because real happiness only comes when you get a chance to express your nature and to express your nature as a duty that you can perform. It is a happiness that you cannot identify the cause of. Supposing you have a good friend you haven't met for very long, and then you're just meeting after a long time. You can identify the cause of your happiness, isn't it? There's extra happiness that day because you met your friend, long time buddy, and you enjoyed a cup of coffee or enjoyed your day together. You can relate the cause. But if you are a generally happy person and you can't relate a cause to your happiness, that means it is you having an opportunity in your life to express your natural inclination, and you are doing it the correct way, which is converting it into a duty. Abiding in the duties that your inclination offers you. And you are sticking your life into that perimeter. You are keeping your life in that perimeter. Into that area which your nature is able to express, and you have managed to bring it into a sense of responsibility and duty and execute from there. He says, there is no greater gain than getting that. Now, for all of us who have some concept of karma, as we saw in the previous text, especially with reference to, like I just quoted a verse, Shastra will say, if your inclination is like, supposing my inclination is more towards study and research, and therefore what does my duty become? Share the knowledge, teach the knowledge, bring it into the society as clearly as you possibly can, and therefore what are the things that I will abide in? In the 18th chapter, Krishna is going to restate all these values according to your varnas again. Here he said, Dhanam, Adhyanam, and Tapas. That means if my inclination is towards studying, you know how researchers are, they don't look for money, they don't look for salary. Sometimes of a researcher, I know of one in one of the best researching institutes in America, and she's so involved in her work that her colleagues have to remind her it's a payday. She forgets. Such a simple life she's living in. Why? Because she identifies her expression of her nature of thinking, analyzing, figuring, collecting, all that in a Laukik sense I'm talking. Even there, that is tapas for her. What is tapas? Keeping your life within your inclination. She doesn't get too much pay. She doesn't have all the pleasures of too much pleasures. She lives very, very frugal life. Why does she live a frugal life? But she's a happy person. Despite her frugality, she's a happy person. Why? Because she's happy doing what she's naturally oriented to. So he says, whatever your inclination are, look at it from the standpoint of an opportunity to express your nature, your duty in that nature. If you look at it from that standpoint, you'll find instantly there is no grief. What replaces it? You don't have to work for happiness. You don't have to work to eliminate grief. Grief gone, straight away there is sukhinaha. There is sukham. And from the Vaidika context, whatever actions one does, all actions done as duties. He's going to elaborate this later on. I'm not going to pre-elaborate, bring everything now, but he'll elaborate it later. When action is done as a duty, there is twofold results that come. If those who have done Upadeshasar, and we did it over there, does anybody remember? What are the twofold results nature of results that comes for any action done as a duty. Vaidika, sorry?
Chitta Shuddhi.
Okay, that is the
Laukik, alaukik.
Laukik, alaukik. And so what is the nature of the result? What is the
Paap and
result?
punya.
Sorry?
Paap and punya.
Pap and punya. Close, yes. But for any action that you do, yes, as a
Drishta,
duty.
drishta.
Excellent. Who said that? Yes.
Priyanka.
Drisht, adrisht. Drishtam and adrishta phala. For every action, you have a seen result and a pratyaksham, a result that is going to come to you. Excellent. That is bound to you. It is already determined to you. It is already written to you. It has already been, like you write a check. When you write a check in someone's name, what happens? It's very interesting. It's a nice pratipaksha. When you write a check in someone's name, the money is still in your account. But when you write a check in someone's name, what happens?
It automatically gets transferred.
Pre-decided. It's
It
a
is,
pre-decided thing that much money will come to that person's account eventually.
and the person cannot see it. But it has already, it's in transit now. That check has already been earned by the person, and the money that is coming, the person cannot see it straight away, but it has already come. It's a matter of time. It is the check जिसके नाम पे है, उसी को वो मिल रहा है. It's not going to somebody else's account. Account number लिखा है, नाम लिखा है. It is going only to that. It is already being received. Adrishta phalam is a huge gain, understanding that a person gains, which can change the way you act in life. आपके कर्मों का सिर्फ एक दृष्ट फल नहीं है. That is why the whole world can be materialistic. But if you have this knowledge, Vedic system, you cannot have just a materialistic attitude to karma. मतलब how much I do and how much I get. ये equation ही नहीं बनता है. Because you realize that karma has twofold results accruing to you. Drishta, adrishta. One is immediately seen. You will get it now in this lifetime, or you will get it today, tomorrow. अभी अभी कर्म कर रहे हो और साथ साथ कुछ कुछ मिल रहा है. But there is also adrishta phalam, means that aspect of the phal which will come in time, but you can't see it, but it is already now earned by you. Swargadwaram apavritam. He says, you will be fighting this dharmic war now, Arjuna. And the adrishta phalam is what? You are opening the doors of your existence in Swargam. There is a Veera Swargam. There are categories of Swargam that Shastra Vedas give. One of the categories is when a soldier, when a martyr is dying or dies, martyrhood, martyrdom takes you to Veeragati, Veera Swargam. There is a Swargam where you enjoy a realm of Sukham, which is far greater than what earth and human body can bring you. You spend some time there with those extra happiness and pleasures, whatever they are. You can't see it from here, human embodiment. But this action, when you die in the battlefield, fighting in this war, it doesn't even matter whether you're winning the war or not. Even if you lose the war, O Arjuna, you are opening the doors to Swargam. Which means what? This is to Arjuna. What does it mean to us? That when we abide in our respective the dharmas. That svadharma, svadharma, svadharma. The more it is repeated, the more it will hook to your mind. That identifying my dharma alone is enough for me to get everything in life. What do I mean by everything? Drishta phalam, adrishta phalam, and ultimately it brings me to Chitta Shuddhi. Ultimately it qualifies me for Brahma Vidya. Knowing, recognizing what is my dharma. And it's a very liberating way to live life. Relatively also. Nothing ties you down too much. You're not burdened by things and people around you. So, abiding in your sense of duty, which is unique to you, and that, he says, will also become a means to earn this adrishtam. And for a Kshattriya, the adrishtam is swargam. Future happiness, which you can't see today. So, O Arjuna, from that standpoint, there is another reason. What is the previous reason? The previous reason is this is a field of dharma, and for the sake of protection of the people and for Prithvi Jaya, you fight the war. Now he says, even looking at it from the standpoint of your Kshatriya dharma, and that you will get swargam. There is no nuksan, there is no disadvantage, there is no harm. You know, when you do pros and cons of an action and a decision, when you have to take, we always make pros and cons. Our pros must always be more than our cons for us to decide. So here what is Krishna giving to Arjuna? Pros and cons. He says, add another pro in the list. Why you must fight? Kshatriya dharma. Why you must not grieve? All those reasons. And then one more reason. Act on your Kshatriya dharma. Then within that, what is another pro? Here and now you get the Rajyam. You get an opportunity to express yourself. What more? One more pro. It will also open your door to Swargam. This is another advantage of an opportunity that you have. If you act. Fantastic this is. If you don't act, start doing the negation. What will happen? Start from this verse. Next verse is still going to add. There's 2-3 more verses coming. But let's do the exercise from here. If you don't act, he's given us advantage of if you act. If you don't act, start from the last line here. What are you losing straight away?
You're going to Nark.
You are going to Narak. Okay.
Hell.
Yes. First of all, no sukham. You will be, you'll feel guilty inside. You will regret maybe. You will feel bad about it. God knows what, but no sukham. Next, you don't get swargam. Whether you get narkam or not, let's not talk about it. You will miss the chance for getting a swargam. You won't get swargam also. Then what? You will not get rajyam. You will not get rashtra. You will not get praja, opportunity to express yourself.
Tejas. You may lose Tejas.
You may lose tejas. Excellent. All this. So advantage you are getting. If you do not act, there is also a disadvantage that you are getting. You are losing something. So understand. So when you are actually overwhelmed in shok and moh, what has got immediately affected is our balance of what is right and what is wrong, what is to be done and what is not to be done. He is showing here in the graph, in the analysis, he is now showing how will you tilt the balance, advantage, disadvantage, pros and cons. When you start thinking like that, you realize your advantages will outweigh what seems, and the loss that you have to have maybe that's not beneficial for you. Therefore, act. Act the way you should in your sense of duty. Then he continues further with the pros and cons. He's giving more reason. He says, continue. On the other hand, now, atha tet imam dharmyam sangramam na karishyasi. Now, supposing you choose not to act, then what will happen? One, I just did, go backwards, swargam nahi milega. So, kya milega? Now, here is a deep thinking. So, what will happen? He says, tataha svadharmam kirtam cha hitva. Because as a Kshatriya fighting that, you would have got but natural. A kirti would have come to you. Kirti, people would have recognized you, given you a medal. If you die, you would have got swargam. But if you would have continued to live, you would have got fame, popularity. People would look up to you even more than before. So you would have got kirti. People will respect you. Kirti means they look at you, respect. More people look at you with greater respect. And popularity doesn't mean, kirti doesn't mean just plain popularity. Here, kirti means respectful
Role model.
role model. So looking up to someone, so there will be more people who look up to you. So he says, atha, now, look at the opposite side of it, the con of it, if you decide not to. Tet, if, imam dharmyam, this sangramam, yuddham, this dharmic yuddham, na karishyasi, future tense, means if you decide not to fight this dharmic war. Tet, if you decide, Arjun, not to fight, if I decide not to act on my duty, then what? Tataha, then svadharmam kirtam cha. That kirti that comes to you by abiding in your svadharma, cha hitva. Svadharmam, you will be killing your svadharma, means you will destroy your own nature. A lot of times we say that, I killed my own self. I destroyed my nature. I did not do what I should have done. And the result was, these are all very live things. They are not theory. So many people harm their own self by taking a wrong course of life, a wrong decision in life. They overlook something and it hurts them back. It comes back with vengeance, destroys their own mental peace and well-being and family and so much more. So he says, if you give up your svadharma, you will be miserable. And whatever that svadharma abiding in it is to bring to you, that kirti also, you will lose. And not only that, what will you get? He says, I'm generalizing first, then we'll come to the Bhashyan. He says, papama vapsyasi. You will directly incur papam. So swargam, if you abide. If you don't abide, you are, by not doing what you should be doing, you will do what you should not do, and therefore you will get the adrishtam in the form of papam. If you do what you should do, you get the adrishtam in the form of a punyam, and here the punyam is swargam, Veera swargam. But if you do not do what you should do, you will do what you should not do, and that doing what you should not do will give you adrishtam, which will come as a papam. And that papam, he says, is going to be um, any papam. What is the nature of a pap? What is the nature of punyam? What do we call as punyam?
Something
Happiness,
that gives pleasure.
That gives
happiness, content,
content, ease,
Give you peace.
peace, ease. Something that is without effort. A happiness that comes without effort. It is as a gift that it comes, as if it was a gift. That little effort you put in. And it goes in your favor. It benefits you. What is papam? That comes as an obstacle in whatever you will be doing. Badha banta hai. It becomes a pratibandhaka, means it becomes an obstacle. It becomes unseen obstacles. You were all correct, and then suddenly something comes, difficulty comes from unknown sources, and struggles increase. Adrishtam in the future in the form of a papam comes because of non-abidance in the duty. Whatever you were supposed to do and you overlooked it, and so you did what was not to be done, and you have accrued an adrishta phalam, which is going to become an obstacle sometimes or the other, big or small, doesn't matter, but you will find resistance, you will find some sort of obstacle is the right word. Difficulties, a difficult life. Nothing will come easy. So, he says, papam, you will gain papam. And Bhashyakara here, advantage of a bhashyam is nothing is kept in ambiguity. So, when we say kirtam as a general term, fame, Bhashyakara here reminds us that Arjuna got his kirti because of his fight with Shiva. Mahadeva Adi Samagama Nimittanam, because he had a duel with Shiva, and the fight that he had, I've forgotten the story, I forgot to refer back also, that I should have referred, and I don't remember the story now at all, but there is a story which says Arjuna fought with them. If anybody knows, that's great. And it seems his popularity rose more than anybody at that time. Most popular. He was really well known, far international fame he had. He had an international fame because of this war that he had with Shiva, and he was granted a boon because of that, and things like that. So, by not abiding in it, don't think it is just a casual decision. I will not fight, because he gave his reasons and he said what was papam. For those of you who are interested in studying it, connect the first chapter, what Arjuna thought was papam. And here Krishna is answering him. Ab ye paap hoga. तब पाप क्या कहा था अर्जुन ने? Anybody remembers?
relatives को मार देना would be
Relatives को
papa.
मार देना will be पाप. He will incur sin. What more was पाप? Another पाप reason he gave. Varna sankaraha. When men will die, women will blah blah blah, and then he said the next generation will be Varna sankaraha. That is a great papam, he had said. Children will be born out of caste, and therefore caste as in out of Varna ashrama. Varna sankaraha means what? When your Varna is not clear. Now you see what is Varna sankaraha? What is Varna? Brahmin, Kshattriya, according to your temperament. Now if there is a Varna sankaraha, then your karmas are mixed up. You don't know what will be the karma to follow. The children will not know what to follow in their tradition, so there will be a mix-up of it. You can live a bhogi life. You can live a But the continuity of the family tradition and the duty that the family uniquely held will be lost. Yeah, like we know Badrinath temple, one family has been holding it as a priest, only from one family. For so many generations, that family is still holding. Varna Sankaraha would mean now that is lost to them. So he said that is going to be papam. What is Krishna saying is going to be papam? Abiding in your dharma, not abiding in your dharma will be papam. Completely different understanding. Ulta. Like literally 180 degree. We look, say I look in one direction and say this is right. And Krishna says turn. Pura ghumo 180 degree. You are looking at a wrong सब कुछ गलत देख रहे हो. You're looking from the senses into the world and seeing only this much. Turn. And the definition of papam is, if you will not fight this dharmic war, which has come to you unsought, which is an opportunity to gain punyam, if you decide not to fight, you will lose all this kirti that you have got in the world. Drishta phalam is he has earned kirti. That is his drishta phalam. That kirti will be gone and you will gain adrishta phalam in the form of papam. And so what is the problem? Arjuna is still too depressed. He's still not understanding what is happening. He says, if you lose that akirti, akirtan cha api bhutani, kathayishyanti te avyayam, sambhavitasya cha akirtihi, maranat atirichyate. Akirti cha api. He says, and with the akirti that you will get, bhutani kathayishyanti. There'll be gossip. People will talk about you. Abhi, there is kirti, which means people are talking about you in a positive way. You're respected. But if you lose, kirti means what? They will talk about you in a disrespectful way. They will talk avyayam, dirgha kalam, in times to come. Later after you also, people will talk about you as one who did not fight and ran away from the battle. That akirti will stay with your name even after dirgha kala, even after you die. You will die anyway, irrespective whether there's a war or not. You die in the battle or not, you will die anyway. But what is akirti? After your death also, with your name will be attached maranat atirichyate. It will carry forward. Your akirti will carry forward. And I think in the next verse he says, maybe we'll do it next time. This much I think is enough to retain the thought flow for now. The same discussion is going to continue. The idea is that what is the focus in a human life to direct one's course of life? Average people, when we do not have the bhagyam, the opportunity of having the exposure to the Vedas and the Vedic knowledge, not just action, to what the scheme of Vedic vision is, when we don't have the opportunity to have heard it, then by default, we will follow our instinctive patterns of impulsive behavior and thinking. And what is that instinctive, impulsive nature of our existence? We only look for desire fulfillment. And our desires are countless. We don't have finite number of desires. We don't think that 2, 3, 5 desires will fulfill us. There are countless desires that have been formed because of our instinctive, impulsive behavior. We have formed relations that are not dharmic. We form relations that are just for the sake of pleasure. We form relations that are just satisfying. We do actions that are just giving us instant gratification, etc., etc. This is by default. Everybody has to do this. You will do this. Default means there is no way out. The starting point for a human being will be that we will all be prakrit swabhav. Prakrit means this, instinctive, impulsive, just following what comes in our mind. जो मन में इच्छा आ गई उसके हिसाब से चलना, जो मन में राग द्वेष आया उसके हिसाब से करना, जो मन में वृत्तियां चली, जो मन में विचार आए, थॉट्स आए, जो मन में इच्छाएं आई, live a life according to that. There is no right and wrong. There is no discerning. There is no sifting. You know how you sift the flour from the wheat, the husk. There is no sifting of thoughts. अपने विचारों पे हमको सब impulsively ठीक लगता है. That's what it is. Average person, when you ask a young child, if your friends have got married and what is your life structure? Work and party. That's it. Work also as less as possible. Party as much as possible. This is the structure of life. And in the process, what happens? 60-70% of the people unhappy with their partners, with children, with blah, 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 blah. All that, what we did in one word, samsara. By default, this is going to occupy your life. अपनी जो इच्छाएं हैं उनको पूरा करने के लिए we will fill our life with something or the other. But when there is a bhagyam of knowing what Shastra's vision is of a human life, I don't know it, but if I have the bhagyam of listening, following it, understanding, hearing it just, then I have an opportunity to see my life in a different light. And that then brings the onus on myself. And he says here, a primary thing that is there in a Vaidika's life is they instill in us a sense of kartavya. Kartavya word is enough. Kartavya. If you look at the word kartavya, the way it is structured in Sanskrit, it will get translated as what is to be done. Kartavya nishtha. Nishtha means firm in my thinking, firm, nishthume, in my intention. That's right thing. Kartavya nishtha means I abide in kartavya. Tavya with a kri dhatu. Tavya means karna chahiye. Kartavya nishtha. If you don't have a Vaidika vision, then your jivan is what? Bhoga vritti. Enjoyments. That kartavya nishtha is what he says brings you shreyas. And that shreyas would mean now and later in the future, everywhere. So I think we'll continue in the next class with the furthermore points. Now that he's brought us to our level, he's pounding just these verses, the pros and cons of abiding in your duties. That is a very normal question that arises in present times. We get asked. Everybody has this question, especially when we start abiding in duties. Yesterday we touched upon it. There still seems some doubts. If we abide in duties, but people around us are not abiding in their duties. So while it looks wonderful to give this example, you feed me, I feed you, but then my hand is straight, but the other person's hand is bent. So what happens? I'm feeding the person and they are feeding themselves also. If such a thing is happening, then should you continue to abide in your duty? Should you continue to abide in your duty? Let's open it for discussion. Should you continue to abide in your duty?
Yes.
I hope the question is clear.
Yes.
The question is, my hand is stretched out to feed another, but their hand is bent to feed themselves. In such a relation, should you continue to abide with your hand stretched out?
Yes.
Why?
We can only do what we can. Like, we have to do the right thing.
And
Not
so what
based
happens-
on whether other is doing the right thing or not.
And so what happens to you when you feel I'm not being fed, I'm hungry?
I'll just eat, put my mouth in the bowl. Like, you have to keep doing, and I think things will turn around eventually.
Nature is something you can't change. That's what you need to come titiksha, come in terms with that you cannot change the nature.
Excellent, yes.
And also because there is the adrishta phalam, so eventually it will come to you sometime.
Excellent. So the gain of the duty is absolutely correct. We have all understood Gita well by now. Why it should be brought in our lives. Why it is not a teaching only for Arjuna. Why is it relevant at all periods of time? Because what is it? These are situations in everyday life. Duryodhanas are everywhere. What is the situation that Pandavas and Duryodhanas is? Pandavas are keeping hands stretched and Duryodhanas have their hand in their mouth. So what are the Pandavas supposed to do then? Here to resurrect, of course, according to them, it's different. But finally, when you just simply abide with your sense of what you should be doing, have the tiksha, yes, have patience. Sometimes it may be necessary to put your foot down, but it should never be because you are flouting your duty. Arjuna is fighting a war to put things right. Giving alone is not what is called duty. Keeping the situation fair is what is duty. So sometimes action needs to be brought in to correct it also, but it should not be stemming from your raga dvesh. And then you will be right in doing that. But averagely speaking, for the sake of your own sanity, simply abide in duty, understand duty and abide in duty. Definition of duty will change with your stages of life. It's like supposing, like yesterday I said, if my father is no longer there, my duty also disappears with reference to that. So you can always reassess, realign the present set of your duties every time there's a change in your environment. What is your present set of duty tell you? But should you ever take the decision of not abiding. I'm glad everywhere everyone is saying yes, 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 we should abide in our duties. That is the way to be Sukhi. Stick to that. And Shastra can only tell us, like it's saying now, the rights and the wrongs. Ultimately, we choose. And safe bet would be duty. But sometimes, if your duty is harming you, sense of your duty that you think is your duty, and it's self-destroying you, self-destruction is not anybody's duty. Never destroy anyone or yourself. Your duty is to nourish you. Your duty is to help you grow. But if in the process of performing a duty, you are not able to, then sometimes you need to be more assertive about what is your duty and putting things right in the context. That capacity should also be there. That is a total Vaidika. A Vaidika is not a passive follower of main duty, one-sided duty. No. There is nothing like a one-sided duty. Yes, one-sided duty is primary. My focus is on my duty. But does it mean one-sided duty all my life? Fresh assessments have to be taken, and to continue abiding in your duty, let me put it, to continue abiding in your duty, correction sometimes is also part of your duty. Arjuna's part of the duty is to correct the environment. Is that clear? Any doubt in this?
Deepti ji, like you said that, it's Arjuna's anugraha that he gets this opportunity. So what about the soldiers or even Drona and Bhishma who were on the other side? So they are also now Kshatriyas, but they are fighting for a dharma.
Correct.
There, like maybe Bhishma and Drona had a choice to fight or not fight. But what about, the soldiers who are the Prajali?
According to them, their responsibility is to fight for their kingdom. So that is their dharma. They are following their dharma. It is the leaders, the generals, the decision makers, on whom there is more onus of responsibility. The soldiers, foot soldiers' duty is like in an organization, a Shudra's duty would be. They can only follow instruction. If they don't follow the instruction, they are in trouble. They're doing something wrong. So they are only following, they will be taken care of. They will get their swargam. Because it's not for them to decide whether they are not in a position to decide whether I am on the side of the righteous or not.
Deepti ji, would Bhishma be described as one-sided duty? Like, he thinks that he has some...
No, I don't know. It's not a one-sided duty from Bhishma's side. Bhishma's situation seems to be, actually you can think like that also. It won't be incorrect. Though in Bhishma's case, it is a voluntary, what is the right word? It is a voluntary
taking it upon him.
Zid. What is zid in English?
It's an unwanted kind of a desire, or maybe, a decision.
No. What is zid in English? Stubborn. He is stubbornly holding on to his vow. He himself knows that it is out of context now. but he's just holding on to it because of his stubbornness. That's what we can conclude from just the story part of it. Nobody to judge whether it is right or wrong. But one-sided duty, no, not in his case. He could have given it up. He had knowledge that he's holding on to it wrongly. One-sided duty is then I'm just going on doing my bit of duty when I should be reciprocated. In a relation, there is a reciprocal of duties. Like yesterday we said, किसी और का अधिकार मेरा duty है, मेरा अधिकार in that context उसका duty है. In Bhishma's case, the reciprocalness from the state it was that one-sided here, you're right if you use it only, he is making a commitment but there is nothing else on the other side. If you would take one-sided like that. But I don't mean it in that sense. I mean it where it is a relation of reciprocal nature. My adhikar is your duty, your adhikar is my duty, but only one person is following their duty.
This is Ash's point of view, Dipti, like who are doing it for the state, for the king. Or yeah, so but the king is not giving you back anything. Like you're not getting anything from this, from commitment or from the love that you display.
Let's leave them for now out of the understanding. It may because we won't have all the data and factor. This context because I brought in the word, I'll only clarify the context in which I brought it.
Thank you, Dipti ji.
Namaskar. I brought it in a more laukik, regular sense.
Sure.
Yeah. So, because this question was still left unaddressed, or some had a doubt, what should you be doing if it is one-sided? So they were asking more from day-to-day life. When you start feeling overwhelmed कि मैं ही कर रही हूँ and कोई नहीं करता है, in that sense, if we go backward that much, then Bhishma was more his holding up his vow was his identity. Bhishma Pratigya. He was known for that. And giving that up would have automatically meant his identity would have gone. We don't make our duties our identities. Average people. Is that okay? Clearer?
Yes, Dipti ji.
So we'll just end here. Where have we finished till? Okay, 34th verse. Can you end?
सर्वेषां स्वस्तिर्भवतु सर्वेषां शान्तिर्भवतु सर्वेषां पूर्णं भवतु सर्वेषां मङ्गलं भवतु सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामया सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् ॐ स्वस्ति प्रजाभ्यः परिपालयन्ताम् न्यायेन मार्गेण महिषा गोब्राह्मणेभ्यः शुभमस्तु नित्यम् लोकाः समस्ताः सुखिनो भवन्तु काले वर्षतु पर्जन्यः पृथिवी सस्यशालिनी देशोऽयं क्षोभरहितः ब्रह्मणाः सन्तु निर्भयाः ॐ शान्ति शान्तिः
Thank you, everyone. I forgot to announce.